Hi, I'm Amanda Morgan from NotJustCute.com, and this is First Friday Q&A for the month of October. This month's question is a really common one that I hear from both parents and teachers, and it's essentially this. What do I do about my son or male student who's constantly dressing up in the girl costumes and playing in girl roles in the socio-dramatic or pretend play area? And my first short answer is let him play. And here are the long reasons why. So, first of all, if we look at socio-dramatic play or pretend play, what it's really about, it's a really healthy, therapeutic, natural type of play for young children. And it's really someplace where they're safe to explore and express themselves and process things and play with new ideas and different roles to come to understand things that they're experiencing or confused about or wondering about or just seeing in their lives around them that catches their interest. So if we think of dramatic play or pretend play as a form of expression and communication and of processing, then we understand that it's something that we don't want to stop. We don't want to stop someone from communicating or talking to us. And so in that same vein, it's something that we might want to get more involved in, play with, and come to understand more of their point of view, just like we would if someone were just speaking to us as a form of communication. With their play, same thing. We might want to get down on their level, play with them and get involved, talk to them and ask questions and come to see what they're playing from their point of view so we can better understand what they're processing or expressing. But that's the reason why we don't want to just stop it. It's like stopping communication. We want to let them play and do this therapeutic work of play and accept that. Now, when we look at developmental reasons why children might play with different gender roles, and the question is directed at a boy, and that's what I hear more commonly, but girls play in this type of play as well. It's just for some reason a little bit more socially acceptable. But when young children are in those early preschool years, these are years when they're becoming more and more aware of their gender roles, and gender stereotypes that are around them. And so it's very common for them to want to play with those ideas and process them and experiment with them and try on different roles. When we look at identity in general, building an identity generally encourages a little bit of experimentation and processing and coming to understand things and apply group identities to our personal identities. And that's a lot of things to process, but it goes on very naturally for young children, and play is a part of that, how they work that out very naturally. So if we think of it as a part of their identity building, they need to have that experimentation and that play. And it's very normal for them to try on these different roles as a part of that. Now also, we want to take into account that pretend play often is imitating other roles or people that they see in their lives. And so particularly, as I mentioned, boys taking on female gender roles tends to bring more attention. But if we look at it, it's understandable that that would possibly even be more common, because we have boys who possibly are spending more time with female caregivers, their mothers or teachers or nannies or different caregivers. And so that's a role that they see possibly more frequently in their lives. And so they may just be imitating somebody that they care about or that they spend a lot of time with, or somebody that's involved in more of their social interactions, and therefore it's a role that they're going to play with as they do this social type of play. So that's another thing to take into account, that they're simply processing things or imitating things that they're experiencing. And so it's going to bring in other genders to that processing and that type of play. Now, beyond these developmental aspects of building identity and experimentation and the processing and experimentation with play, aside from that, we sometimes just have to look at it from a child's point of view and make sure that we're not allowing it too much credit from an adult point of view or giving it perhaps more the wrong meaning. Just for an example, I worked with a young child who was constantly putting on this blue tunic dress in the dress-up area, and you think, that's interesting. Why is he always going to that dress? Why is he always going to that dress? And then getting down and playing with him and talking to him, realize it's one, because blue is his favorite color, so he wants to put on whatever is blue. And two, because he had seen things with knights and they have those tunics and he thought that looked a lot like the knights. And so in some cases, what they're drawn to has nothing to do with gender whatsoever. We're assigning it that meaning, but they're drawn to a color or a texture or some other idea that they're assigning to it that's different than ours. So we want to make sure we understand the play from a child's point of view as well, and not assigning it our own perspective. Likewise, we have to make sure that we are not applying our own stereotypes to things. So for example, with boys playing with dolls, some people would see that as playing with gender and might have some concern because a boy is doing a girl's type of play. But in reality, and I have a post all about this that I'll link to it, that's just us assigning a stereotype that we may have about boys and dolls or babies, when in reality they probably, hopefully, see men caregiving all the time. I know in my home, my sons see my husband taking care of the baby and the family all the time. And so again, we may be assigning our own meaning, our own stereotypes to the play, when in reality what they're doing is playing in a role that to them is not gender specific, and perhaps to us should not be gender specific. So we have to make sure we're not applying our own meanings and our own stereotypes as we watch this type of play. So again, let them play, let them experience and explore. It's healthy for them to play in different roles, and make sure we're not assigning too much meaning to it, or our own adult meaning to it. We want to make sure we don't overreact, or also that we don't overcompensate. Just because a child may be drawn to different types of gender play doesn't mean we want to always push them towards that play. We want to let it be child driven. We don't want to push them towards it or away from it. We want to let them drive their own play, and if we want to, come in and be a part of it so that we can understand it more. But we don't want to discourage or push them towards either one of those types of play. If you are seeing, I think the only situations where I would think of possibly bringing in more of clinical type of help, if you're seeing extreme dissatisfaction or sadness about this type of gender play, or other types of just emotional upheaval tied towards this, it might be worthwhile checking with your pediatrician or other social services that may be available for helping to understand those social, emotional, or possibly psychological issues that might be underlying that could be tied to play. Always with dramatic play, I think it's important to pay attention again to what the child's communicating, and 9 times out of 10 it's just a very natural, normal thing that they're processing and trying to understand. But if we ever see play that shows extreme discontent, or just a lot of I'm trying to think of the word for it, just almost like a there's always a battle going on about what they're playing, just really upset about it, very emotional about their play, there may be bigger issues underlying that, or bigger experiences that are driving that. And if we can't understand that, then it's worthwhile to talk to a pediatrician or another professional or clinical service. But I would say the vast majority of the time when children are playing with under other gender roles, it's completely natural, completely normal, and very healthy for them to play with different ideas and experiences. So again, the short answer, let them play. So I hope that that is helpful for those of you that may have that same question. If you have another question, please send that to me at questions@notjustcute.com. I'd love to bring those up in the months to come. So thanks again for reading and watching here at Not Just Cute. Again, I'm Amanda Morgan, and I'll see you here next month. Thank you.